It's no secret Kansas City has a crime problem. It seems every week we're bringing you the story of another life cut short or another break-in. And while there are efforts underway to curb crime, these issues stay front and center. People have real questions about policing and how these cases are being handled in the courts, especially now as voters decide who they'll pick as Jackson County prosecutor in November. Democrat Melissa Johnson's taking on Republican Tracy Chappell as both women work to become the county's top law enforcement officer. Whoever wins would make history, becoming the first black woman to ever hold the post. Today, we'll sit down with both candidates to press them on the issues and how they hope to make Jackson County a safer place. We start with Melissa Johnson. She grew up in Kansas City's Oak Park neighborhood, went to Columbia University and law school at Mizzou. Johnson spent time in the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office, was a court clerk and attorney for private firms as well. Right now, she's Public Safety Director for Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas. And a lot has happened in Kansas City during her time in that role. That's where we start our conversation today. You started this job in January of 2023.
Correct.
Which is a year that sadly has a dubious distinction of being Kansas City's deadliest year.
Absolutely.
What was being done at the time and what's being done now? Kind of peel back the curtain. What's being done to curb crime?
That is a great question, and there is a lot being done. It may not always feel that way, especially for our residents and our citizens that is being touched by this issue far too much. But over the last year, we have revived focused deterrence. If anybody remembers Nova back from 2014, it is the last time our homicides were under 100, and we were employing a strategy called focused deterrence, where you identify those most likely to shoot or be shot, and you invite them to a meeting called a call in, where these very, very high-risk individuals get to hear from members in our community, like a mother that has lost their child to homicide. They definitely get an enforcement message as well, but we also offer them restorative social services. It worked back then. We're only about 6 months in or so, and it will work again. We also have a task force at the city called the Multidisciplinary Public Safety Task Force, where we look at a lot of different commercial businesses that have had a plethora of public safety challenges, or might even be public safety nuisances themselves. You know, the business owner that is not adequately investing in the safety of their patrons. A great example is the auto shop at 57th and Prospect that served as the scene for a mass shooting. We were able to get that business closed, along with a host of others that have really been sores to our community. We have enacted policy allowing KCPD to impound vehicles believed to be involved in street racing a lot quicker, raising the fines and punishments on those types of offenses, investing $30 million into violence prevention at the city. A lot has been happening, and we are hopeful that it will continue to lead us in the right direction, because we are trending in the right direction.
You've mentioned this need for a holistic approach to just dealing with the crime issue here at home, and that you've also said that we can't incarcerate our way out of these issues that we're seeing. But you also have said that you do a lot more prosecuting in Jackson County if elected prosecutor. How do those two concepts coexist?
They have to coexist. We have to figure out and find ways for them to coexist. And I think that's part of the reason why we're in the predicament that we're in now. Over recent years, we've either swung too far to only focusing on prosecution, incarceration, and punitive punishments, which absolutely play a vital role in our public safety infrastructure. But we've also at times swung too far in the direction of only focusing on service deployment and only focusing on transformation and restorative practices. There has to be space for both. And so for me, my platform is all about strengthening our investigations, expanding our capacity so we can hold more people accountable and reduce case dismissals, but also understanding that we only have so much jail space. Those two principles have to coexist. Strict accountability, but understanding that we have to deploy resources as well.
Let's talk about accountability for something sadly we see all too often, and that is young kids and young adults shooting other young kids and young adults in our city, in our county. As we said, record homicide numbers over the last 5 years. How do you plan to address that problem as prosecutor? Because Kansas City, whether we like it or not, is starting to get a bit of a reputation as an unsafe city.
And I would argue that it's not starting to get a reputation as a dangerous city. We have been reeling with the effects of these issues for quite some time, especially in the neighborhood that I grew up in. The juvenile officer is the ultimate arbiter on whether or not a juvenile will be certified as an adult and what charges that they will face at the juvenile level. Well, I want to work collaboratively with our new juvenile officer to identify a set of factors that will automatically trigger a certification hearing. Things like, was a gun involved in the commission of the crime? Was death or seriously bodily injured caused on the victim? Or is this their third or more offense? If any of those factors exist, I am of the belief that a certification hearing should automatically be triggered, and then a judge should decide if that young person will be certified as an adult. Now, if they are certified as an adult, when they get to my office, I am absolutely prepared to prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, because the harsh reality is holding them accountable is not just for the victim. It's actually for that young person themselves. We are selling a pipe dream to our young people that they can commit egregious acts of violence and receive a slap on the wrist, receive electronic monitoring that they don't have to comply with. That is actually sending them further down a road of criminality, a road of despair that might ultimately lead in death, as we see far too often in our community. But I believe that we cannot talk about juveniles without talking about parents as well. When there is evidence, and this happens more often than you might think, of a parent actually being complicit in the criminal acts of their child, we have to evaluate utilizing the endangering the welfare of a child charge in the first degree a lot more often. If a parent is found to be criminally negligent, completely checking out of their parental responsibilities, endangering the welfare of a child in the second degree has to be evaluated. And it is rough to have that conversation, because as an empathetic person, I of course understand the notion that sometimes young people make poor decisions, but murder isn't a poor decision. It is murder, and it has to be treated as such. And I'm fully prepared to not only hold young people that are certified as adults accountable, but their parents as well.
Other side of the spectrum, you worked for the current prosecutor, Jean
Yes.
Peters Baker, for a little while
Yes.
at the county prosecutor's office. Years ago, she pledged to stop prosecuting nonviolent drug offenses. That got plenty of pushback at the time, still receives criticism. Is that a policy that you would continue?
In part.
Okay.
For nonviolent lower level possession drug cases, I do plan to continue that policy. Those individuals need treatment, and providing treatment in an incarceral setting, studies show and data shows that that will not actually fix their addiction issues and the mind cycle of addiction. But drug distributors, whether there's a nexus to violence or not, I absolutely believe we have to start charging those cases across the board.